Hey everybody, it's me, Beth Maitland, the Drama Queen Bee, and I'm coming to you from my sewing studio here in the central coast of beautiful California on a lovely spring day. And I want to talk to you about a basic instruction that you will see in almost every quilt pattern, in a magazine, in a quilting book, or in a quilting pattern you might purchase, that for beginners needs a little demystifying. That is the scant 1/4 inch seam. First of all, for quilting success, you need to be able to sew a straight line. And it needs to not waver in and out, and it also needs to be a regimented distance from the edge of the fabric to where the needle inserts the thread and makes that straight seam for you. This will be key to your success at when you press things open, having straight lines, having your points meet, having all of your squares be a universal size, a very uniform size. And I want to talk to you about that right now. We're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to show you in just a moment exactly what that looks like with the needle and the fabric. But for now, let me show you your standard foot for almost all sewing machines comes with a construction foot similar to this. This may not have the clear part here, it might all be metal, but it's a basic construction foot. And along the side of that foot, where the needle fits in goes right in the middle, and along the side this is usually marked at 1/4 inch. And if you can keep your fabric lined up underneath this edge and have both of the sides of your fabric meet, have them line up underneath and just inside of this foot, you will have a perfect guide for keeping your stitches straight. Now, what does scant mean? All of the measurements that you're going to be given in any quilting pattern will require that you cut fabric out with an expectation that once it's sewn together it will be a certain size. That helps it fit within the whole overall scheme of the quilting pattern. If you sew one seam 1/2 inch and another seam 3/8 of an inch and some seams 1/4, obviously it's not going to work out. Scant means that you sew just slightly less than 1/4 inch. So when you line up with your foot, that guide, when you line up with the side of that, you want to be just beneath it and just slightly hidden, like my finger is now, just slightly hidden, so that it's just a little bit less than 1/4 inch. Does that matter? Well, ideally, in theory, it is a theoretical concept that the place the needle goes in and the thread, the line of thread, takes up space. It's only the breadth of a piece of thread and the stitching, but it takes up space nonetheless. So for everything else to be exact, if you sew the seam slightly less than 1/4 inch, it will allow for the fold and the thread stitching and all of that to take up a slight amount of space. And that will then eventually lead to your quilting success. Is it essential? I don't think so. The main thing is to get in there and make a quilt and have fun and learn things and increase your confidence and get the job done. So if it's all the way to the edge for a while and you have a little bit smaller than 2 inches left on the top of your fabric once you press it open, oh well. But just try to make sure that your seams are all uniform, that your seams are all straight, and that you try to get as close to 1/4 inch as possible, and don't worry about the scant so much for now until you're an intermediate or advanced sewer. For the time being, let's take a close-up of what this looks like with fabric under the needle. This is Haji, and I'm Beth Maitland, the Drama Queen Bee. Now let's get quilting.